final match between Georgia Tech and UC Davis. It's all gonna come down to this final solve. And just like that, UC Davis takes the whole thing. Berkeley shows San Diego they're not here to mess around. And Andrew takes that solve from Hamza. What a match. Welcome everybody to this round of 32 matchup of the Collegiate Cubing Championships. We have an excellent matchup for you guys tonight between the number 11 seed Tufts University and the number 22 seed University of Maryland at Baltimore County. My name is Martin and I'll be your host this evening. And just to remind you, we'll be doing a best of 3 sets with each set as a head-to-head matchup of a best of 7 solves. The first team to win 2 sets will win this match and move on to the next round of the tournament to face the number 6 seed Georgia Tech. We want to be getting this competition underway as quick as we can for you guys, so let's take a second to meet our first competitors. They're on the left side of your screen competing for Tufts University. We have Thiago. He averages around 11.42 seconds. And on the right side of your screen competing for UMBC, we have Jay, and he averages around that 16.42 second range. Now, Thiago has an impressive WCA record. He has 83 medals, an extensive medal collection here, and he also holds a number of national records for Brazil, I believe, as well as some 3x3 blind national records and a lot of other interesting and very cool achievements from Thiago, a very accomplished cuber in his own right. So hopefully we should be able to get this first set underway any second now. Tufts University won the coin toss we did earlier, so they will be starting off this first set. And just to remind you again, we'll be doing back and forth alternating solving, so Thiago will go first, then Jay will start the second solve of the first set, then Thiago will follow Jay. But in this first solve, Thiago will be starting off. Now Thiago's coming in with about that 5 second advantage over Jay. He's going to be starting his first solve here. Let's see what Thiago's able to do on yellow cross here. Going into OLL now, or PLL, excuse me.
Oh, on the stream.
Got a 13.60 from Thiago. Didn't look like he was too happy with that one. Let's see how Jay is able to respond to this. This may be what Jay needs to put a little bit of pressure on Thiago and have a chance to get UMBC up on the board early. Now, overall, Tufts University has an impressive team average of 9.59 seconds, while UMBC has a team average of about 12.89 seconds. So Tufts overall has about a 3-second advantage over UMBC, so it's going to be a big deal for UMBC to start putting on solves against Tufts as quick as they possibly can. Jay is going to be starting off for UMBC here. Let's see what he's able to do on white cross.
There we go. Much better.
We see some hesitation here in the solving, but quick F12 for the most part. Going into PLL now. Looks like that may have been about a 17-second solve. It looks like we're going to get a 17.52 from Jay. So Thiago is going to take that first solve. Even though it wasn't quite what he wanted, Jay is not able to capitalize on that and take a solve for UMBC. So Tufts is going to get up on the board early. Now looking at the rest of this matchup, we have a close set up after this between Zachary and Udit. But then after that, we have Chris Yen competing for Tufts. He is currently our fastest competitor in this competition with an average around 6.65 seconds. So that last set is almost a secure lock for Tufts. So it's going to be important for UMBC to just take as many solves as they can. Just play this matchup out one solve at a time. We need good, clean solving from UMBC to have a chance to stand up against Tufts. Jay is going to be starting off the second solve of this first set on white cross again. A little bit less hesitation, but he inserts that pair incorrectly, which is going to cost him some time. Pretty easy. Olo going into some PLL now. See what the official time is. 20.24.
20. That's
Probably not what we wanted to see from Jay.
17 too.
Probably not going to be too difficult for Thiago to respond to this. We saw a lot of lost time with that misinsertion for that final pair. That flipped edge is not too good for Jay there. We'll see how Thiago is able to respond to this. Shouldn't be too difficult. He got that 13.6 in that first solve. We know Thiago can solve a little bit faster, and he knows that he can solve faster too. So we're going to be getting yellow cross from Thiago here. Looks like we may have had a timer malfunction.
Timer malfunction.
0.007.
Yep, timer malfunction. So Thiago will be getting a new scramble. And while we get that figured out, let's take a second to look at our bracket here. On Thursday, we saw Georgia Tech face off against Miami, Ohio, and Georgia Tech was able to clean sweep Miami with a hard-fought final set, but they were still able to move on to the next round of the competition. And the winner of this competition will actually be facing off against Georgia Tech. We can see the second round of matches starting to get populated very quickly here. We have a lot of exciting matches. I'm particularly excited for number 7 UCLA versus number 10 UC Davis. This is sure to be a very interesting matchup. But hopefully our second round of matches should get populated here before too long. Hopefully, probably in the next couple of weeks or so. But we got a lot of exciting matches coming up in the second round of this competition. It'll be really interesting to see how the next round, whoever wins this competition, they're facing off against Georgia Tech. It'll be really interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, especially if Tufts were to win this matchup, just because they have that powerhouse Chris Yen coming in the final set of this matchup. And we'll see how Chris is able to perform. But first, Jay is going to be starting off on this re-scramble of the second solve of this set. So, again, just the second solve. Third solve that Jay is going to be doing, but we have that timer malfunction. Jay is going into PLL now. That may have been about a 16-second solve. It's going to be a 16.86 from Jay for his second solve of this first set. So Jay had that 20.4 or whatever, but now he gets the 16.86. So this is going to end up being very beneficial for Jay. Thiago is going to get his second attempt to do another solve. Hopefully we don't get another timer malfunction here. We'll see what Thiago is able to do. Looks like we're going to be getting white cross from Thiago. Quick F2L and OLL going into PLL. And an 8.93 from Thiago. I think he should be very, very happy with that solve. Thiago is coming in with that 6.6 PB single and 8.5 PB average. So an 8.8 single is fantastic for Thiago, and he's going to be able to comfortably take that second solve from Jay, giving Thiago 2 solves over Jay's 0 solves so far. Now as we're going into the third solve of this first set, it's going to become even more important for Jay to start putting pressure on Thiago if he's able to. Just looking at the rest of this competition, it's going to put UMBC in the best position to have a chance to upset Tufts. Thiago is going to be starting off the third solve of this first set on white cross, it looks like. A little bit slower F2L, but easy OLL. Looks like we're going to be getting an 11.02 from Thiago. We'll see how Jay is able to respond to this. It's likely going to be pretty difficult for Jay to respond to this or to beat Thiago in this solve. Thiago had that 13.6 in the first solve, which Jay could have more easily beaten, but was not able to capitalize on that. Jay beginning his third solve of this set. It's a very quick F2L going into OLL. A corner twist. Looks like that may have been about a 16-second solve, 16.24. A very unfortunate corner twist. He looked like he was on pace to solve that in about 13 or 14 seconds, with the corner twist costing him a couple of seconds for his 16.2 far official time. So Thiago is going to be able to take that third solve. It's now set point here. Thiago just has to take one more solve to win the first set for Tufts. So now UMBC is going to be looking to secure the second matchup, the second set after this set is over. It's not looking too good for UMBC. Maybe Jay has some tricks up his sleeve that he's able to pull out. He's going to be starting off the fourth solve of this first set. We'll see what Jay is able to do. Looks like he's eyeing down white cross. Having some trouble finding those F2L pairs. We're able to recover pretty well. We're going into OL now. Finishing up with PLL. So we're getting a 17.61 from Jay. So not too bad for Jay. We'll see how Thiago responds to this. He's coming in with that 11.42 average, so it shouldn't be too difficult for Thiago, to take this fourth solve and win the set for Tufts. We'll see what Thiago is able to do. It looks like he's eyeing down red cross here. So we're going to be getting yellow cross. Going into OL now with PLL. Another great solve from Thiago with a 9.59. So he's going to be able to take that fourth solve and win that set for Tufts by a pretty substantial margin. Thiago getting another sub 10 in there. Fantastic solve for him. And so Tufts is going to be up on the board early. Let's take a quick second to look at the solves in that match. See Thiago starting off a little bit slow with that 13.40. Jay, that would have been the easiest solve for Jay to respond to because he's coming in with that 5-second difference in averages. But Jay is not able to respond to that. Jay solving pretty close to his normal average, which is what we expected to see from him. Thiago getting some nice sub-10s in there with the 8.8 and the 9.59, giving him an overall mean of 10.7. Jay gets a mean of 17.06. So both competitors solving right around their normal averages. Jay, that mid to high 16, Thiago a little bit faster than his normal average of that mid 11. So Thiago is going to be able to win that first set for Tufts. That's going to put a lot of pressure on this next matchup, which is going to be between Zachary there competing for Tufts and Udit on the right side of your screen competing for UMBC. You can see their averages are just about a second within each other. Zachary may be coming in with a little bit more competition experience than Udit, but Udit's got some faster PB singles and PB averages. So this is going to be a big set for UMBC especially. They lost that first set, so it's going to be important for UMBC to take this second set, and this is going to be the easiest set for them to take. Still not trivial. It's going to be an uphill battle for UMBC, but these competitors are just about a second apart in averages. Now, Udit is going to be starting off this second set here. They're on the right side of your screen. We'll see what he's able to do. Looks like he may be looking at white cross here. You got that X cross in there. A couple lockups in F2, but a smooth transition into OL. That was a very quick solve from Udit. It's going to be a 10.05. It's a fantastic start from Udit. Exactly what we wanted to see. About a whole second and a half faster than his normal average. That's definitely going to put some pressure on Zachary here. There on the left side of your screen. He's going to be starting his first solve for Tufts here the second set. We're going to be getting a white cross here from Zachary. A couple of cube rotations there for F2L. Probably more than he would have liked. Going into PLL, it's looking like Udit might be able to win this set. It's going to be an 11.81 from Zachary. And so Udit is going to be able to comfortably take that first solve there for UMBC, finally putting some points up on the board for UMBC. He takes that first solve by about a second and a half. Fantastic solve from Udit. Exactly what we needed to see. So now Zachary is going to be starting off the second solve for Tufts there on the left side of your screen. I'm not sure how happy he was with that 11.81. I think he knows that he can solve a little bit faster. We're going to be getting a white cross here from Zachary. Again, that F2L looks a little rotation heavy, but we're going into PLL sub 10, and we're going to get a 10.73 from Zachary.
Not that great.
So an excellent bounce back from that 11.81. A little bit challenging for Udit to respond to, coming in with that 11.87 average. But he handled nerves and the competition very well in that first solve. Udit is going to be starting off on white cross here. Very quick F2L. And a J perm. Oh, but he gets a +2. That looked like that would have been Zachary almost. We're going to see what the official time is. Udit definitely a little. Oh my gosh, and a 10.72 from Udit. So he would have beaten Zachary by just 1/100th of a second, but the +2 is going to give him an official time of 12.72. An extremely unfortunate +2 from Udit here in a crucial moment of the competition. So Zachary is going to take that second solve on a +2. Udit with just 1/100th of a second faster than Zachary there. But that +2 is going to give that solve to Zachary instead. Extremely unfortunate for Udit. Hopefully he can shake that off. He started off that first solve great, and he would have beaten Zachary in that second solve, taking another point for UMBC. Hopefully he can shake that off. He's going into this third solve. He's going to be starting this third solve, excuse me. Hopefully he can shake some of those nerves off.
You never know.
He knows that he can solve faster than Zachary here and win a set for UMBC, pushing this necessarily into the third set to decide who wins.
Sometimes it depends on what the stopper's going to be. Wait, that should be so nice.
Udit starting on white cross here. Very smooth F2L going into OLL now. G perm got some lockups there, but not too bad of a solve. You're going to get a 9.56 from Udit. Fantastic solve. Looks like he was able to very effectively shake off that tragic +2 in the previous solve. Zachary now responding to a 9.56. We'll see how Zachary's able to respond to this. Maybe he can ride that momentum of winning that second solve. We're going to be getting white cross here from Zachary. Some major pauses in F2L. He's going into OLL at a decent pace, but not quite enough to beat Udit with a 12.43. So Udit is going to be taking that third solve for UMBC.
No, I just didn't like.
Zachary not quite solving fast enough to beat Udit here. Udit has, other than that +2, Udit has won all the solves so far. I think Udit is coming in a little bit faster than maybe we expected him to. But fantastic solving from Udit at a very pivotal point in this matchup. So Zachary's going to be starting off the fourth solve in this set on white cross, it looks like. Looks to be a bit of a smoother F2L here. Into OLL. We had a bit of a U3 there in PLL. 10.82 for Zachary on that fourth solve. We'll see how Udit responds to this. Now, so far, Udit has been averaging around that low 10 so far, and then Zachary around that high 10 that we expected to see from him. So Udit sort of defying expectations now. Oh, but in this fourth solve, it looks like he had some issues with cross there, some lockups in F2L. Not good, but it's very efficient. Going into PLL, it's a 10.37, so Udit takes another solve for UMBC by just 0.5 of a second. Very close solve, but Udit is able to lock in and take that solve from Zachary. Udit pushes this into set point. He's just one solve away from taking a set for UMBC. Zachary maybe getting a little bit worried here. he maybe thought he was coming into this competition with an advantage over Udit, but that has shown itself to not be the case. Udit starting off this 5th solve of the second set on a roll so far. Looks like Udit's going to be starting off with white cross here. Very smooth and efficient F2O going into PLL already. For an 8.32 from Udit. A fantastic solve. Riding off of that momentum of the 9.56 and the 10.37. Udit follows that up with an 8.32. This is going to be tough for Zachary to respond to. We'll see what he's able to cobble together. But this may be the last solve. And UMBC may be able to put a set up on the board.
Do you mean to like angle it a little bit too?
Hopefully we're able to get this cube scramble verified before too long. But Udit has been a shining star for UMBC so far. Other than that very, very unfortunate +2, if he didn't get that +2, this set would be over already. Zachary just not solving fast enough to bring the second set in for Tufts.
How about this?
Now, I should mention that UMBC is facing down Chris Yen in the next set. He's got that 6.65 average. It's going to be tough for UMBC to defeat that. But hopefully they can put a setup on the board here. Zachary starting off the 5th solve of this set. He had some lockups there in cross. Not as smooth of an F2L as Udit. Going into OLL now PLL. And a 13.13, some clear frustration from Zachary. And rightfully so, Udit takes that final solve of the set by a whole 5 seconds. Udit defying all expectations and taking the second set for UMBC by a significant margin, only letting Zachary put up 1 solve on a board on account of a very unfortunate +2. Now, both competitors solved a little bit faster than their normal averages. Zachary with that 11.36 mean compared to his normal 10.71. I guess Zachary was a little bit slower, but Udit solving significantly faster than his normal average with a mean of 10.2 compared to his high 11 average. Now that mean would have been even lower. That 12.72 there in the second solve. The only solve that Zachary was able to win was on a +2, so Udit would have won that solve had there not been a +2. So fantastic solving from Udit, only letting Zachary put up 1 solve on him. And he takes a set for UMBC, putting them up on the board. Now I've talked about this last set a little bit here. There on the left side of your screen competing for Tufts, we have Chris Yen with that impressive and daunting 6.65 average. Chris is a 2-time USA national finalist and former top 19 in the world for 3x3 average. So what a very impressive cuber, a very daunting cuber to face. Dean is going to be facing him for UMBC. He averages that 10.25 second range. We'll see how Dean is able to handle Chris here. Now, Tufts and UMBC are currently tied up 1 set to 1 set. So who moves on to the next competition will come down to this final set between Chris and Dean. Now, Chris there on the left side of your screen competing for Tufts is going to be starting off. We'll see what Chris is able to do here. Chris starting off for Tufts on white cross here. I think we may have either had a timer malfunction, or maybe this is going to end up being a DNF.
It was a timer thing. Yeah.
We'll see what the judge ends up deciding.
Yeah.
It looks like that's going to be a timer malfunction.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll probably be getting a re-scramble, a new scramble, and a resolve from Chris here, so we can get that timer figured out.
That's fine.
We can get this final set underway, which will decide who faces against the number 6 seed Georgia Tech in the next round of this tournament. Looks like that timer is up and working again, so Chris should be starting off the first solve of this final set here any second now. Looks like he could be looking at orange cross here. I guess we'll be getting white cross. And it's going to be another timer malfunction from Chris, I believe.
Oh,
This is going to probably be another rescramble. I think we're going to be disconnecting that live timer here so we don't have any more malfunctions. But we'll still have that reference timer there for you guys at the bottom of the screen.
dang, that was a good call.
Hopefully we can get this final set underway after 2 tries.
That's great.
Now, currently, the number 1 solver in our competition has been Jason from Texas with a 7.81 average, but he's closely followed by Marcus from Vanderbilt with a 7.98 average. Chris coming in with that 6.65 average. So those two fellows should probably watch out. Their top 2 positions in our tournament may be upended by Chris's performance in this competition. Chris starting off this final set for Tufts. So he had some pauses there, probably some little frustration with that. Some lockups going into that T-perm. Some maybe messed up the cross there. And oh no, this looks like it's about to be a 12-second solve for Chris. It's going to be a 12.33. Clearly not at all what we expected from Chris. Dean with that 10.25 average. This is his moment to step up and take a solve for UMBC in this final set. He came in with a 4-second difference in averages to Dean with the 10.25, Chris with the 6.65. So with a significant disadvantage, but Dean might be able to take this first solve here, starting on yellow cross here. He's got to keep it together, keep it nice and smooth. It looks like he's able to do. Going into PLA now on excellent pace. An 11.37. So Dean for UMBC is going to be taking that first solve in this final set. Not at all what we expected to see. Chris clearly messing up that first solve. A lot of issues, some lockups. But Dean stepping up to the opportunity and taking a solve for UMBC in this final set. We'll see what happens for the rest of the set, but Dean's setting up UMBC well to put a little bit of pressure on Tufts here. Dean is going to be starting off this second solve of this final set. Looks like he's looking at yellow cross here. Like, probably not the most ideal F2L cases going into PLA now. Still on pretty good pace. Maybe some lockups. But that might just be a 10.70 for Dean. So following up that 11.37 with something a little bit faster. Chris going to be responding to that 10.70. Hopefully he can shake off whatever that first solve was. We'll see how Chris starts off his second solve. This cross is much better. Very fluid and quick F2L going into PLL. Well, that's going to be a +2. We'll have to see what the official time is. But Dean has a 10.70.
Yeah, that's great. It's 10.52.
Oh, but Chris gets a 7.52. So with the +2, it's going to be a 9.52. So he still takes that solve, but not by as much of a margin as we would have thought. So Chris just barely taking a solve for Tufts here in this final set. I'm a little bit shocked at how this final set has been going. Dean putting up an impressive fight for one reason or another. It is now tied, 1 solve for Chris, 1 solve for Dean going into this third solve of this final set. Maybe Chris can lock in here, starting off his third solve. Quick F2L, lock up in PLO, but that looked to be a pretty good solve. And it's going to be a 6.11 for Chris. Very impressive solve. Probably more like what we expected to see. Dean going to be solving against that 6.11. Definitely challenging for any cuber to respond to. We'll see how Dean is able to manage. Dean starting off his third solve of this set. Very quick F2L going into. That's going to be an 11.00 maybe? It's 11.08 for Dean. So a good solve, but Chris is going to be able to easily take that third solve. So Chris currently at a 9.32 average. So he would not actually be ranking, I think, in the top 5 for individual of our competitions, but he's coming in with that 6.65 average. And many of you probably know of Chris at the very least. I believe he holds the impressive title of the 3rd fastest Chris in the world. But so far, that doesn't seem to be the case in our competition. He still needs to fight a little bit for a top 3 individual ranking. Dean starting off the 4th solve of this final set on white cross here. He's been handling this very challenging final set well so far. Going into OLL now for Dean. We had a G perm there. Executes so well, but it's going to be a 12.18, I believe. Yeah, it says it's going to be a 12.18 for Dean. So maybe not quite what we wanted to see from Dean. But Chris, he's going to be starting off his 4th solve of this final set. As we've seen so far this set, Chris is going to have to lock in no mistakes here if he wants to push this set into set point.
I feel like my F2L is really good. But
Chris solving on white cross here. Very smooth, quick F2L going into a very smooth transition into OLL.
780.
Gets that 7.80. So he's going to be able to take that this 4th solve from Dean. Now Chris just has to win one more, and he's going to be starting off this 5th solve. So a rather unexpected start to this set with Dean taking a solve from Chris early on, but Chris able to bounce back, maybe with a hiccup or 2 in there, but he's solving more around the pace that we expected to see him solving. Chris starting off the 5th solve of this set, final set. Reminder, winner of this set will move on to the next round of the competition. Dean getting a 6.84. Chris getting a 6.84 impressive solve. Definitely going to be challenging for Dean to respond to this. Dean looks to be eyeing down yellow cross here. We'll see what Dean is able to do in this 5th solve, this final set. Mostly smooth F2L going quickly into PLL. This would be an 11.09 for Dean. So a good solve for him, but Chris is going to be able to take that 4th and final solve, meaning that he wins that set, giving Tufts 2 sets 1 and UMBC 1 set 1, which means Tufts will move on to the next round of the competition to face off number 6 Georgia Tech here, but not without having to put up a little bit of a fight against UMBC. So an impressive showing from UMBC in a very difficult competition. We can see all of our competitors saying goodbye here. We thank them for competing. Before we sign off, let's take a quick second to look at this crazy final set. So as we can see here, we expected big things from Chris. He's coming in with that 6.65 second average. And his mean for this set is going to be an 8.52. In all honesty, I expected him to take the number 1 ranking for our individual rankings, but at the moment, he ranks number 4 or 5, I believe. The number 3 top 3rd person in our individual rankings is Thomas from Vanderbilt with an 8.31. So Chris not being able to crack that top 3 position, maybe in the next round. Dean averaging that 11.28. Right around what we expected to see. He got that low 11 average here. We expected to see about maybe a low 10, but still very good solving from Dean. Chris messing up that first solve pretty substantially and then getting that +2. So not being able to securely take those first 2. Dean able to capitalize on one of them. Put up a bit of a fight against Chris, but he takes back 4 solves in a row, winning that final set for Tufts and pushing them on to the next round of the competition. To take a quick look at our bracket here, you can see that Tufts will be moving on to the second round of the competition to face number 6 Georgia Tech. It's definitely going to be an exciting matchup. Chris, a very difficult cuber to beat, as we saw here. So we'll see how Georgia Tech is able to handle Chris, as well as all the other people on Tufts, Thiago and Zachary. But Tufts moves on to the next round of the competition. As So that's going to be it for our stream tonight. Join us next Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time on our YouTube channel for UNC Charlotte versus the University of California, San Diego. Sure to be a very exciting matchup. But that's going to be it from all of us here at the Collegiate Cubing Championships. I'm Martin, signing off. Thank you so much for watching.